Hello all and welcome to All Red. The slot machine is getting a wee bit defensive, isn't it? Arne's brick wall is slowly being built. This is the channel that is all Liverpool all the time. It's All Red. Please hit that like button on this video and consider subscribing. And please drop a comment below letting me know what you think of my, well, I wouldn't say wacky opinions, but my Liverpool opinions. This is interesting to look at because the slot machine is slowly churning out defensive results, right? Results where we are letting in 0-0 goals, or I'm going to get slated for that in the comments, or 1 goal. And you look at the Premier League as a whole, and there's really 2 stories here, okay? The first story is Arne Slot's men have only conceded 2 goals after 6 Premier League games. That's a pretty remarkable feat. And the second story is Arne Slot's men have really not played great teams, okay? The 2 goals we've conceded, one against Forest, who are currently sitting 10th, and one against the last place Wolves, who have yet to win a game and have lost 5 out of their first 6. So we can say Arne Slot is building a defensive team, a defensive style, and we can also say that Arne Slot has not played great teams yet because if you look at everyone that Liverpool have played in the Premier League, they're all struggling to score goals. You know, Brentford have scored, the most out of the teams we've played. They've scored 8 goals. They've scored 8 goals in 6 games, which is not a great record. Forest have only scored 6. Manchester United have only scored 5. Oh my goodness, dude. 5 goals in 6 games for Manchester United. Don't you just love it? Isn't it just good? Oh boy, what a time. What a time it is in the Premier League. You just have to love it. Bournemouth have only scored 5. We just played West Ham in the Carabao Cup, and they scored against us, but they've only scored 6. Ipswich has only scored 5, and then we've got Wolves who've only scored 6. So really, really poor teams that we've played so far. Most, except for maybe Forest, are really struggling. Brentford are doing okay. They're sitting at 11th, but we have yet to play Brighton, Tottenham, Newcastle, Villa, Chelsea, Arsenal, City. All of these teams who are much, much better than the teams we've faced. And so I don't want to blow this out of proportion, but you have to say, Arne Slot is building a team that can really defend, and probably more than defending, it's more about control. Arne Slot likes to control the games, but we also know he loves when his players win duels, and when the players are winning their duels, the team performs better. Okay, that's my Slot impression for today. I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay, we're just going to leave it at that. And you're going to put your comments in and say, oh, that was terrible, and you sound like a German and all that stuff. Please do. Please put the comments in, right? But Arne Slot is a coach and a manager who loves when his players win those individual duels because, every player on the pitch winning their duels, if everybody's winning more duels than the other team, then the team's going to win and the other team's not going to be able to score. So, we've had 4 clean sheets out of 6. That's really good. That's a big improvement on last year, by the way, when we were conceding in nearly every single game. We were conceding first. And, Slot, we've seen, it's the exact same set of players. So that's still happening. It happened against AC Milan. It happened against, Forest, but that was later in the game. It happened sort of. It did. West Ham. So that those things are still happening, but they're happening less frequently. And remember, Slot's only 8 games into this regime. It's going to take time for his system to fully implement, and yet at the same time, he's done a really good job early on. So, we've got Crystal Palace is our next Premier League game. They are currently sitting in 18th place. They have scored 5 goals in 6 games. And so, yes, we must be winning that game. It is away to Crystal Palace, which is a difficult fixture for Liverpool. But we surely must be winning that. I'm not going to say we're going to guaranteed, but we should be. And then after that, things get a little difficult. We're going to be playing teams like Chelsea, who sit in fourth. They've scored 15 goals. They've scored the most goals in the Premier League. We're going to be playing Arsenal. And yet, it's still an impressive feat to come into the Premier League the way Arne Slot has done and to have a 10-goal difference after the first 6 games to sit on top of the Premier League. These things are good things. And 2 things can be true at once. And so the real tests have yet to come. I would say AC Milan was probably our biggest test so far, and Arne Slot passed that. From the 4th minute on, Liverpool dominated that game, and we won 3-1 away from home at the San Siro. That's a good result. Even our upcoming Champions League fixtures are not a huge test, but we're going to have a lot of games, and they're coming swiftly. They're coming fast. And so Liverpool have tests that are coming up. We're going to see what the real Arne Slot looks like when we're facing, teams like Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City, and even Newcastle, Villa. Those teams are going to be tough matches. So here's the one thing that I will say about Liverpool up to this point. In years past, we have been a big team that succumbs to the little teams, right? We play down to our opponents. And we've seen that in the last, 5 or 6 years where we come into a match, we should be winning, we should be beating this team. Hey, we're up against the last place team, and it's a draw, right? It's a 1-1 draw or whatever it is. And we succumb, we play down to our opponent. Well, we've seen little fragments of that this season, but for the most part, we've pulled out those results, save for Forest. But, Arne Slot seems to know how to grind out those really tricky matches against the smaller clubs. Liverpool have not had as big of issues getting up for the bigger games, right? The games where we need to come in with fire. And I'm not saying we've won all those games. Obviously, last season we lost to Tottenham, and we drew with City, and we lost to Arsenal. But for the most part, we were handling those results really well. And you could even look at Manchester City last season. I think we drew twice, and those were big matches. So here's the point. Yes, Liverpool are looking like a very good defensive side, a very good control side, and yet we have not played great teams in the Premier League. So we'll see. We will see over the next 6 matches will be a very, very big test, a much bigger test than what we've had thus far, and we will get to see what the real Arne Slot looks like. So we'll leave it at that. Get your comments in below. Let me know what you think of Liverpool's controlled and defensive play so far in the Premier League. Do you think it will last? Do you think we can go into games like Chelsea and Arsenal coming up and have similar results? We shall see. By the way, we will be playing a Rodri-less Man City this season, which is a big difference. And so I'm not going to say we're going to go in and win, but big advantage there for Liverpool. We have yet to draw, by the way. No draws for Liverpool. We're the only side in the Premier League that has yet to draw a game. The draws, I think, are usually what kill us, right? In the Premier League, the draws are what usually we're coming into these smaller sides and we're getting, we're dropping 2 points here, 2 points there, and we have yet to do that this season. Obviously, a draw is better than a loss, but we have no draws. City, Arsenal both have drawn twice. We've yet to do that. So, bright days are behind us. Hopefully bright days are ahead of us. But we will see. We will see.